I got a new gadget, the Viltrox E-Z mount adapter. So now I can attach my Sony lenses to my Nikon camera. I don't have too much expectations, but at $100, if it's good enough, I could save a lot of money not buying a new wide-angle lens or a nifty 50. For example, I have the Sony E 11mm f1.8, a very good APS-C lens that costs just under $400 I think. That would be so nice if I can use it on my Z50 Mark II. This video is not sponsored. If you want to help me doing more unsponsored video where I can say whatever I want, you can buy me a digital photo that you can print by yourself, link in the description below. First test, I am filming with the Nikon Z50 Mark II and the Sony 11mm f1.8 at f7.1, so you can see the beautiful city of Bacolod behind me, where we will try that adapter. But for now, let's try at f1.8 so we can have a look if the autofocus with eye tracking is working, and actually I can see two boxes around my eyes, so it seems that the autofocus is working well, and that's strange because that lens is not even listed as compatible actually. We will try three different lenses out there. A telephoto zoom lens, the Sony E70 to 350 f4.5 to f6.3, so I will try to find at least a few birds in flight and some wildlife out there somewhere. We will try a macro lens, the FE 90mm f2.8 GOSS macro, so I will try to find some small stuff. And we will also try maybe some dog portraits with the Viltrox 56mm f1.7 with a Sony mount. We will try to get some wildlife mostly, and we will see if the photos are sharp, we will see if the autofocus is good and fast enough, and overall I will see if it was a good idea to buy that adapter. But first, before we go, you want to update the firmware to make sure your adapter will work with a maximum of lenses. So you have to find viltrox.com. You can also scan that QR code here. Once in there, you look for E2 Nikon, then you click on E2Z version 6.0. At least that's what I did, and you click on zip here. Underneath you have the PDF list of compatible lenses and some instructions. So you click on zip, and in the folder here you have two files. According to Viltrox, the firmware update ending by 1 is for in-body image stabilization. The one ending with 0 is for stabilized lenses. My Nikon Z50 Mark II don't have in-body image stabilization, so I took this one, ending with 0. Then you simply drag the file into the adapter folder, which was not showing up with my MacBook. So I went to the reception of my hotel, and the two nice girls there did it for me. And finally, you can check in the menu of your Nikon camera if it worked. It's in the firmware menu. So first I took the Sony 70 to 350 adapted to my Nikon Z50, and I walked randomly to a fisherman's place over there. And it was a perfect place to try the autofocus accuracy and the speed of my Sony Viltrox Nikon setup. A very enjoyable wind with a lot of birds, at least 5 species of herons, 1 or 2 kingfishers, and a large group of terns. A lot of birds in flight, exactly what I was looking for, so I stayed 3 hours, mostly between those two pillars. I started with a slow shutter speed of 1/1600th of a second, and I quickly adapted it to between 1/3200 and 1/4000. I was in bird in-flight autofocus, aperture f6.3 most of the time, auto ISO with something like -3 of exposure compensation, because the terns are white. So let me show you a few of my favorite photos from this morning. We start with my less favorite, and it feels like 1/3200 was still not a high enough shutter speed, but you can already see that yes, you can in fact adapt a Sony telephoto zoom lens to a Nikon camera and get a decent image of a fast bird. Here is the original. Now, two photos a bit more interesting to me, both backlit. I am already at 1/4000 here, which is, in my opinion, the minimum that you want for that kind of bird. Here is one with a cool background, in focus and sharp enough. Sometimes I pointed my camera at people living there. This one I like a lot. Along with this one, just a street dog passing by, very sharp, good light on his head. Then I went to the other side where only 3 birds were hunting, an egret, a striated heron and a stern. That's a lot less birds, but they were close enough and behaving in a cooperative manner, so I think I got sharper photos. The tern is the one you saw in slow motion at the beginning of the video. And that was not easy. But once again, I was surprised to see the autofocus of my setup doing such a good job. This is another footage at 120 frames per second, 5 times slow motion, and with my Z50 Mark II it can be done only at 1080p. This is a long version uncut, so you can see that sometimes it loses focus a little bit. You can see the stabilization behavior from the Sony lens and one dust spot. Let me know what you think and like and subscribe. I recorded also 2 other birds at normal speed handheld in 4K, and even though we have a Sony image stabilization adapted with a Viltrox adapter, in my opinion it's very much watchable. Could I have taken more nice photos with a native lens without the adapter? Maybe. I guess it depends also what lens we are talking about. But with a good lens, yes, I think the autofocus could be a bit quicker and a bit stickier. But at the end of the day, I took a lot of cool pictures of very fast birds with my combo, and my morning was very enjoyable. That said, you will see later that the Viltrox adapter has a few downsides. The next day I took the Viltrox E mount attached to the same Nikon Z50 Mark II with the same Viltrox adapter, and I went to Bacolod, which is actually very far. This time I was looking for street dogs and cats. It was a long way. It took 2.5 hours to reach the place while taking photos, and Baywalk was actually closed. It opens at 11 AM. But on the way I met enough friendly dogs and a few evil but cute cats. Again, no major problem with that Viltrox 56mm f1.7, no connection problems, good animal eyes autofocus overall. I can say that again it was a pleasure to handle that setup. Here is my first encounter on the main street of Bacolod. Good focus on the eyes, except one probably with motion blur because I am at 1/400 of a second. I found some mushrooms on a corner growing on a piece of wood. I took a quick shot without too much thinking process at f4.5, and I should have gone for a smaller aperture to include more of the town, and I could have cleaned the scene a little. This one was special, the friendliest dog ever, just happy to meet anyone.
Go.
He was too close to take a good picture most of the time. This dog was probably new to the street because I felt like he never met the wrong guy until now. Little test, this is at 350mm without image stabilization. And here the image stabilization of the lens is turned on. So you can see the difference, at least in video mode. Now concerning the downsides and the bad news, my Sony 90mm macro is listed as compatible and was working in manual mode but not really in autofocus. To make it work, sometimes I had to unscrew the adapter and put it back in place, so I gave up. Another problem, the next day I wanted to do a time-lapse with the Viltrox 56mm for E-mount, but it's not working anymore at all. My lens is dead. Could be unrelated, I don't know. So instead I made a time-lapse with my Viltrox 25mm for Sony E-mount, and it worked very well. Other cons, there is a tiny bit of wobbling between the adapter and the lens. And by the way, Viltrox says that you should always carry the weight of heavier lenses with your hand. I must say that I had 2 mornings without any problems, but I guess that you could have some little bugs sometimes. Do not count on that gadget if you shoot a wedding or for any professional work. I would not trust it. Could a native lens have done a better job here? I don't know. Maybe. Another problem is that I could not update it with my MacBook. And another downside is that your camera will not automatically correct distortions or vignette and things of that nature. You see here, there is kind of a heavy vignette with my 70 to 350. I was on normal vignette control, and I should have gone with high vignette control instead. Also remember that it's not weather sealed. Finally, I will say that in my case, I think that it's a nice tool to have for my YouTube videos. I just hope that this adapter is not what killed my 56mm, which was listed as compatible. And that's it. Bye.